So there is a dryer upgrade out there that is becoming incredibly popular, and I actually think it's for pretty good reason, and that's this box right here. Now, what this box allows that dryer to do, it allows it to run more efficiently. It also allows for much easier maintenance, and it also helps to cut down on the fire hazard risk that comes with the buildup that can happen in your exhaust. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so just really quickly before we get into the actual install of this, which is pretty easy, but the way that this works is there's a lever over here on the side, flip that down, and this box opens up. But inside of this box, we have two filters here. This first filter that is diagonal, this actually has some bigger holes in it. So it's gonna catch a lot of the larger items that are running through your exhaust. This one up here on the top, this one has some finer holes in it. So anything that gets past this first one that does not need to get into your exhaust, it's gonna further filter it out using this screen right here. So why is this so important? Well, one of the number one reasons for your dryer becoming inefficient, that's just plain and simple the case where most people do not do a very good job of maintaining their dryer and making sure that it's cleaned out. When your dryer has that lint that makes it past that initial lint trap in your dryer, and they all do, it's gonna start building up in the dryer, in your exhaust, and when it does that, it starts to restrict the exhaust or the airflow from being able to leave your home. And when it restricts that airflow, it cuts down on the efficiency of the dryer. And therefore, that might be why you're finding that your clothes are taking longer to dry. Well, this right here is gonna take care of the majority of that for you, to where you're still gonna need to do some maintenance, but you're not gonna have to usually do it as often. And what you will clean out, there won't be nearly as much. On top of that, since it is reducing the amount of waste that gets up into the exhaust, again, further restricting that exhaust. I don't know how many of you know this, but lint is incredibly flammable. And statistically speaking, dryer fires or house fires that are caused by the dryer are one of the leading causes for house fires. So it's super, super important to make sure that your exhaust and everything in between the dryer and the exit to that exhaust is cleaned out on a regular basis. And of course, there are different manufacturers of these. You can get these in different colors to match your taste. For your convenience, I will have links down in the description down below with links to all the different types of these, along with all the tools and materials we're gonna need in order to make this installation possible and make it look the way that it will. So I'll have links for everything you see in this video down in the description down below. So at any time you can click on those links and you can check it all out for yourself. All right, so for this install, obviously this is my dryer. Before I pull this away from the wall and start working on this, I wanna make sure I've got a good game plan for where I'm gonna put my box. For me personally, I've actually already drawn a little bit of an outline here on the wall. And all I did was I took a level, put it up on the wall where I wanted it, made sure it was centered with my dryer, and then I just drew my outline so I know exactly where I need to put my holes at. As you can see, for me personally, I'm gonna be mounting mine sideways. The reason I'm gonna do this is because my vent is actually down below in the wall below the top of the dryer here. So I'm gonna have my intake come in here and my output's gonna go out this side. The reason I want it like this is then I can just open this door like so, pull my traps out and easily clean them out. Also, visually, I'm gonna be able to see it well, so we'll know when they need to be cleaned out. And then it's just easy to then reclamp it closed. And your setup may very well be different than mine, especially if it's like in a basement setting. You may want yours to just be vertical like so, because maybe your exhaust is going up and through either the roof on the outside of the wall, or maybe going up to the next floor or floor joist if it's especially down in a basement area. All right, so to start with this install, the first thing I'm gonna address is we're gonna have to take our hose off of the dryer vent exhaust and then our dryer exhaust here. So I'm gonna start right here, and what I'm gonna show you is actually gonna be what's gonna allow for us to get our dryer closer to the wall than you normally would. So on pretty much all of these, you're gonna find a hose clamp that's holding this onto your dryer exhaust. You can use a screwdriver right here on this screw, a nut driver. For me, I'm gonna use a nut driver because it's just that much easier. It's a 3/8 nut driver, and all we gotta do is turn it counterclockwise and it will loosen that hose clamp up. Now it's loose, now it'll just come right off the exhaust. All right, so now this is where the magic happens in getting this as close as possible to the wall. Instead of having this standard dryer hose coming out of the back, the problem with these is, as you can see, even though you can bend them, there has to be some extent of hose that has to come straight out without it being crimped. And what I mean by that is this is about the max you're going to be able to get out of it. And even then there's some stress being put on this, whereas if you keep pushing this up against the wall, it starts to collapse it, which is going to reduce its efficiency and the airflow that can go through it. So an item I'm going to use in this, it's going to make it look better, which we don't really care about looks behind the dryer, but it's also going to allow for it to get closer to the wall a little bit. And that comes down to this 90-degree elbow here. This side right here will get connected to our dryer exhaust here, and then this side has a locking clamp here to where our hose is actually going to get attached on this side. So this is very easy to do. These kits come with everything you're going to need. In this case, I'm going to need this silicone ring. It's got a lip on it right up here. I need to put this over the exhaust that's coming out of the dryer, and this is what's going to provide us with a very, very tight seal. And I will tell you, once you get this on there, it does not want to come off at all. At this point, we can take the 90, and it's a compression type fitting to where we're just going to push it on there. And if you're a little bit concerned still, even though in my opinion there will be no air leakage coming out of the sides, you can also install this tape that they include. This is a sealing tape that you can put down around where it's connecting to the dryer. So we can just run that all the way around. And so now at this point, we have an even nicer airtight fit and even more unlikely for this to be able to come off. So next I'm going to want to attach my dryer vent hose to this 90, and that's where this part comes in. Sometimes they're attached already. You just got to turn them counterclockwise a quarter turn and it comes right out. Very easy to install. Just have to take the vent hose, and at this point you want to take some sort of a hose clamp. You can reuse the one that was on your dryer. As you saw, this one I used a drill or a screwdriver to do, but they also make these ones here where you can tighten them down by hand just by spinning that clockwise or counterclockwise. So I'd want to put that over my dryer vent hose like so, then take the long side of my fitting, put it into my dryer vent hose, and then once I've got a good amount of overlap of my hose over the connection point, I can go ahead and start tightening down that hose clamp around the connection point just by turning it in a clockwise direction. So now that that's connected, all I need to do is insert this connection piece into the 90. Once it's inserted, I just have to turn it clockwise a little bit, and now it's locked into place. All right, so now the dryer portion is connected and ready to go. And if you want to take it even a step further, you can get you some of this tape right here. This is just your standard aluminum duct tape, and this stuff right here, I'm pretty sure would stick to dirt if you absolutely had to have it do so. So it doesn't look as pretty as the tape I showed you just a little bit ago that comes with this 90, but if you just want to make absolutely sure that you're not going to have any air leaks or this coming undone, this is the type of tape you want to use. And with it being on the back of the unit, who really cares how it looks? We're really going for function back here, not fashion. All right, so now that the dryer portion is done, well, now we can get our unit closer to the wall. Now we can actually get started with the fun part of this upgrade. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the exhaust hose that's going to my exhaust vent. All right, so now I'm to the place where I'm ready to mount my actual box. Now, here's the thing, like I said, you want to make sure that you've already got all of this drawn out. I've got my little spots here where I'm going to need to put some anchors and the screws to hold my box up. And choosing the correct anchor for the job is super important. So there are all kinds of anchors out there. I really recommend never using your standard drywall anchors. You know, the ones that you have to drill a hole out, hammer them in, and then insert the screw. Those things just do not work very well. What I like to use the most, especially for more light duty applications like this one, are these ones right here. You take the yellow portion, hammer it in, and then when you put the screw in, it flips up the anchor on the other side of the wall and it holds it firmly in place. So all I'm going to do is take my wall claws, I'm going to place them over each one of the points that I drew out for where my screws are going to need to go, which ultimately that's where my anchors need to go. And once I put the point of my wall claw on those marks, I'll just take a hammer and just drive them in. Now you don't want to get too crazy with it because you don't want to do any drywall damage. These drive in very easily and quickly, and once they're in, they are pretty hard to pull back out, even without putting the screw in to flip up the claw on the other side of the wall. So I will do that for each one of my 4 points for my box. All right, so now my box is mounted very firmly in place. That's definitely not going anywhere. Can easily open it all up now. At this point, this is where then you're gonna need to have dryer hoses, your input coming into the bottom. Again, you want your feed to be coming into that first diagonal filter first with the larger holes. You don't want it going into the one with the smaller holes first. So again, plan accordingly for which way you want to mount your box. So at this point, you could just take your dryer exhaust hose and you could connect it onto here and tighten it down. And then of course, then on the other side coming out and then connecting it to your exhaust going out of the house. But as you can see, since this is going to be visible, this is not exactly the greatest look. This is obviously an option. This would be the quickest, the least expensive. But if you still want it to look fairly decent, this would not be the way to go. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do very, very quickly. All right, so for me personally, what I'm going to do to make this look a lot nicer is, if you remember towards the beginning of the video, that 90 that we installed onto the dryer itself, well, I got a couple more of those to where they can go on both sides of my box, and it's just going to make it look like a much cleaner install. So I'll just really quickly walk you through these steps, especially on one of them, because of course the second one is going to be the exact same. So we'll start on our input side here. Again, you're going to want to take that clear silicone ring and we're going to run it all the way around with the lip going towards the box. We want to run it all the way around our input there. Then we can take our first 90, and again, it's all going to work based on compression. You want to make sure you've got it at the angle that you want it at, because again, once you get it on there, it is not going to want to just come off. So just like that. Then again, at this point, we take the other side of our hose. It's coming from the dryer. We take our connector that then connects to the 90, put it into the dryer hose. Again, I've already got my hose clamp on here. Then once I've got that fully inserted into the dryer hose, we're going to go ahead and just tighten it up. That's on there nice and tight, and it's not just going to come out. We've got a nice seal. So again, at this point, then all I need to do, take my dryer hose, put it up into this female side of the 90, and then just twist it clockwise just slightly, and it snaps into place just like that. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did over here on the feed side. Taking that silicone ring, putting it onto the outlet side of the box, then pushing on the 90-degree compression fitting on top of that silicone ring. Then after that, I'll need to take the connector that connects into the female side of that 90, attach it to a new dryer hose by clamping it on, and then inserting that quick connect into the bottom of that 90, turning it clockwise a slight turn, and then it will snap into place just like all the rest. All right, so now I've got my input or feed side connected. I got my output or exhaust side all connected, but there's still one more thing I still need to do. And that comes down to attaching our new dryer hose that's coming from the box to the exhaust vent that is then taking it outside. So I just need to take the other side of my dryer hose here and try and get it up on my dryer vent exhaust. And so right about there is absolutely perfect. I got about 2 to 2.5 inches of overlap over my exhaust. Now at this point, this is when I want to bring up my hose clamp, overlap it over my dryer hose and exhaust. Always remember to have one of these hose clamps already on the dryer hose, because otherwise, if you fight and you finally get this thing on, you're going to be kicking yourself because you'll have to take it back off to get one of these on here. So make sure that's already on there before you try to fit it on any piping. So now we've got it in place. All I need to do, just like all the other times earlier, is tighten down my hose clamp. And again, want to make sure we get it down nice and tight to where we've got a nice airtight seal. But at the same time, since we're going around this metal, we don't want to overdo it and possibly start to bend the metal underneath. All right, so that's all hooked up. All right, so as you can see, everything is hooked up now. I got my dryer pushed back up against the wall. We have a really nice clean look here with our new box and our 90s going down. Now, one thing I do want to just really quickly note, the elbows on both sides of my box, that was not something that was sent by the manufacturer of the box itself. It's something that I personally came up with, and I have seen some other places where people have installed them this way, and I just think that it provides a much better look. That being said, because the manufacturer themselves have not said that this is a way to hook it up, for the most part, it's just connecting your exhaust hoses to both sides. One thing you just want to keep in mind, not that there's anything wrong with doing this, but one thing you might want to keep in mind, you want to make sure that these 90s are on here nice and tight. If you have any type of air gap, you might start getting some of that lint dust coming out of where it's connecting to the box. While overall I'm very happy with how it turned out aesthetically, it didn't turn out exactly how I was hoping it would. If you get up a little bit higher to where you're standing and you can see over the top, you can see those exhaust hoses. So not a huge deal. It doesn't look great. Obviously with the 90s, I still think it looks much, much better than just attaching it to the box. I do think I could probably get some spray paint and just get those white to where they blend in a lot better and you don't see them. So I don't know if it's that big of a deal. Initially, I wanted this mounted just slightly lower, but when I had it down where I wanted it to where those would be completely concealed, my box to be able to empty out and clean the lint out of the box, it wasn't able to open fully and I wasn't able to get the screens out. And so then we can test it out and turn everything on and see if we don't see anything going into the box. So I'll go ahead, turn it on now. So as you can see in the box, like I was talking about, we've already got some like lint dirt up against the cover here. If you look inside there, it's already catching lint coming out of the input side. And I don't have any clothes in the dryer right now, so we're not gonna really see a lot of lint go through here, but that is encouraging to see. Just that little bit that may have just been in the hose or in part of the exhaust, it's already getting caught. So you can see how well this can actually work to make sure that it's getting caught here where we can easily maintain and clean this out before it goes on and then into the exhaust that then is taking it out of the house where it can cause all kinds of issues. So with that being said, again, like always, for your convenience, I will have links for the box, all the connections, and all the tools that were used in order to make this install possible. I'll have links for everything down in the description down below. So when you click on those links, it will take you directly to whatever you clicked on so you can check out all of this for yourself. So as you saw, really impressive upgrade. Didn't really take a whole lot of time to install, and you can see all the benefits that can come from having this installed on a dryer. Now, if you found value in this video, then this is really just the beginning of making sure that your dryer is running as efficiently and safely as possible. I've got some other videos here on the channel that show some very important maintenance items and installs that need to be done on that dryer to make sure it's drying your clothes as quickly as possible. Therefore, it's not running as long and using more electricity, jacking up your electric bill, and then also making sure that it's running as safely as possible, because there are some things that need to be done on at least a yearly basis, because statistically without doing them, it really does raise the chance of having a potential house fire. So if you'd like any more guidance or information in those areas, I'll post some links to some videos on the screen now. Whichever one interests you the most, all you have to do is click on it and it will take you directly to it. But I hope that you found value in this video, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch y'all in one of the next ones.